refreshment. The M40 has cleared its way sufficiently to allow us to have John carry with us. And John is going to chair the next session. John, if it's okay, would you mind introducing yourself first of all? I'm being too lazy, but I think many people know you, but for those who don't, it would be good to.
What does one say of oneself? That's always a difficulty. I'm John Parry. I'm a presbyter of the Church of Bangladesh, now heavily disguised as a minister of the United Reformed Church. The last 20 years have been spent teaching in a theological college in Manchester and moonlighting in Bangor, Edinburgh, Samoa, Taiwan, Madagascar, India and Bangladesh. So most of my life has been spent in terms of the whole business of dialogue between faiths. And if you've been following the news today and seeing the developments in Ukraine, what has struck me very, very strongly today is the absolute importance of keeping dialogue between whomsoever. I'm a Welshman, English is a difficult language. Keeping the dialogue going between people is exceedingly important. And that's why I was so pleased when Ed suggested that we have this meeting this evening, because mutual understanding, and I think at the end of the day, mutual interdependence is for me one of the most important aspects of life. You didn't come to hear me witter on, you came now to hear Amjad Iqbal. Amjad is from the Wycombe Islamic Society. He returned last November from Syria, where he's been involved in support of people within that country. And Amjad, if you'd be willing, please, to speak to us, I would be most grateful. I am told that you should not move further than a foot from here, so that people can hear you.
Should be okay, I've got a mic as well. So I'm going to move from there. I'll come close to you, we can interact a bit then. I'm Amjad Iqbal. We set up a charitable wing of WISE called WISE Welfare to distribute aid to regions around the world. Although we're a very local organisation, quite small, but there was a need amongst the communities here to do aid work around the world. And people have a desire to help, and we thought we'd try to facilitate that. We've had a good historical sort of a biography of the region, of the Middle East. I'm going to talk about Syria, because I had that experience of going to Syria, but I'm going to talk about my personal experiences, but I thought it'd be good to share some sort of historical background as well. I mean, Damascus, which is the capital of Syria, is a very, very ancient city. Thousands and thousands of years. The Syrians, you've had the Muslim rule, you've had Christians, a deep history. And you've had conflicts, you've had agreements, so it's got a very rich heritage. And unfortunately, some of that is being destroyed due to the war. And it's, we should try to protect that as much as we can. And Damascus was the seat of the Umayyad Empire, which is one of the earliest caliphates of the Muslims. And the modern state of Syria was established after World War I. Once the war ended and the Ottoman Empire was carved up and French had rule over this area. And then it became free after that. And now you have a diverse group, thinking about the history. You've had Christians, Muslims, Druze, and then within the Muslims there's different groups. As you probably know, there's two main sects in Islam, which is the Sunni and the Shia. And within the Shia there's lots and lots of different sects as well. And you have the Alawites, which is a sect within Shiaism. And the Alawites have a specific belief. And Hafiz Assad, he was from this Alawite sect. But people have generally lived together quite well. It's only when conflicts arise, and just in the photo of some of the historical sites, it is a beautiful place. Unfortunately, some of it's been destroyed. That's just some of the history again, but I think we've gone through some of the history, so I'll probably skip over that and talk about some of the issues that have arisen since the Arab Spring started in the Middle East and it spread to different countries. And in Syria, it was quite a small incident that triggered everything actually. It was some children, school children, on their way to school, they did some graffiti on one of the walls. And when they did that graffiti, it was a message about freedom and, and the authorities, the regime of Assad, they don't like somebody speaking about rights of the individuals, of the people, and talking against the government. And it was quite a mellow message, but he sent his people to find out who had put this, graffiti on this wall. And when they found out there were some school kids, they went to the school and arrested lots of children because they couldn't identify who it was. And these children ended up being taken to prison and tortured to find out why they did this, who they were, who was brainwashing them. And then the parents, realized their children had been kidnapped in a way by the authorities. And they went and demanded the authorities hand them back, and they wouldn't hand them back. Then the people went on the streets. This is how the revolution started in Syria. Eventually, they managed to get the kids back, but they found that their fingers had been chopped off, all these sort of things. Imagine if that happened to your child, and the emotions that it gears up. And this is how the Syrian conflict started. And the government has, in the past, as we know, the human rights situation is not good. They've been torturing any dissent, closing down websites, not allowing any sort of reaction to the government. And obviously, as the civil war started, things got worse. There was disputes and shelling of civilian areas, towns. Whole towns would be totally wiped out, unfortunately. So it's quite a dire situation. And not only that, they resorted to chemical weapons. Now, I don't know if you've seen these barrel bombs that get dropped from helicopters. It's just crazy. I mean, I've had witness accounts from people from Wycombe who've seen the effects of that when they were in Syria. And these bombs are dropped from the helicopters, and all this liquid, it's like napalm that comes out, and it just burns the skin. You might have seen the Panorama program, and they were doing witness. You can still find it on iPlayer probably, or on YouTube. It's quite horrendous, the injuries you get. And Amnesty International, have documented some of this. They say Syria is one of the worst places for human rights. And obviously the civil war has spread throughout Syria. This is Syria, so most areas are still controlled by the government, and the green areas are controlled by the opposition. And then you have Kurdish groups as well. And so there's fighting going on in between them. And this is sort of effects that you're getting on the buildings, totally annihilated. These are people's homes, and they're wiped out. The sad thing is the infrastructure gets totally destroyed. And when we were in Syria, you could see roads, schools, universities, gas, electricity, everything's gone, everything's destroyed. You don't know how the people survive. Over 120,000 people have died. 4 million people displaced from one town to another. 3 million people have to leave the country. And you think about it, and what has the UK done? Why hasn't the UK government allowed refugees to come to here? Went to Turkey, you see the massive refugee camps, hundreds of thousands of people in Jordan. In Lebanon, Lebanon's a poor country, Jordan's a poor country. They're taking on thousands of people. And we are a rich country here. So ask the MP here to lobby the government so, to get some more refugees. We had one Syrian lady who managed to come to Wycombe, and we sort of helped her out getting her housing and stuff. I don't know how she managed to get here. It's quite amazing. But people are achieving to get here, but we need to open up and allow people to come. The UK has a great record of helping people, and the community in High Wycombe is very generous as well. And we raised some funds to help people, and I'll try to show you some photos of that and a film just in a couple of minutes. But I thought, we are a Muslim charity, we're an Islamic organisation. I thought I'd share some tidbits of information with you as well. Because human rights are very important in all religions, and in Islam as well. Prophet Muhammad, who's the final messenger that the Muslims believe in, he said that truly your blood, your property, and your honour are inviolable. They should be protected, and that's the job of a state, is to protect the honour, sanctity, the property, and the blood of people. And God reminds us in the Quran that, O mankind, we created you from a single soul, made you into nations and tribes, so that you may know each other, not that you may hate each other. So, God made us into different people, different colours, different tribes, but it's a way of getting to know each other. And even during times of war, there's rules and regulations that the Prophet Muhammad placed down. Unfortunately, a lot of Muslims have forgotten these things, so I always try to remind them, but also to the wider audience. When the first Caliph, when he sent his armies out, what did he say? He said to his army, always keep fear of God in your mind. Remember that you cannot afford to do anything without His grace. Do not forget that Islam is a mission of peace and love. He's sending out an army, but he's reminding his army that you're a mission of peace and love. Keep the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, before you as a model of bravery and piety. Do not destroy fruit trees. Don't destroy trees in your path. Be just and spare. And it says, respect all religious persons. Do not harm, priests, people in convents. Don't harm anyone. You don't harm women and children. Don't destroy the harvest. This is what a good, true Muslim army is supposed to be like. It's supposed to be ethical. It's supposed to be an ethical war. You don't harm innocent people. And always remind our Muslim audiences that, and it's important that everyone is aware of that. So what's happening in some of these countries is totally un-Islamic in terms of the terrorism that we see. So Islam is against killing. Another verse in the Quran, if anyone killed a person not in retaliation for murder or to spread mischief in the land, it would be as if he killed the whole of mankind. If you kill one person, it's almost as if you killed the whole of mankind. That one life is so precious. But if you start losing respect for the life, then you will lose respect for humanity and all people. And then charity is very important in all faiths and even non-faiths. And Islam places a very important emphasis. Charity, when we do charity, it's like extinguishing your sins, just like water extinguishes the fire. So the Prophet always advised to help the neighbours, to give people who are needy, and help the animals as well. There's a woman, there's a famous story, where a prostitute, she helped a dog that was thirsty. Because of that, she gained paradise. Simple things. As Muslims, we always try to help. And we went on this trip. We flew to Turkey, and we visited some of the refugee camps, some of the orphanages. This is in Turkey. There's an orphanage there where they're taking on Syrian children. And when you go to Reyhanli, which is the border town that we went to, in Hatay province of Turkey, and they set up so much help. It was so nice to see that the Turkish people, they've been so generous, sharing their homes, sharing their properties, food, taking in orphans, helping so much. This is one of the orphanages and some of the children. We went to hospitals and we distributed food parcels. This is one of the hospitals we visited. And this is some of the patients that were there. We handed out sweets and biscuits and food. Some of the people come back, had injuries, limbs torn off. There was rehabilitation for them. There was physiotherapy available in the hospitals in Turkey. And we also gave aid to them as well to continue that work. This is what's on the border. So we're actually one of the physiotherapy units there. And that's the hills that Javed is pointing to. He works at Phoenix in Wycombe, so you might see him. So he went with us. So he's just pointing at the hills. Syria's across the border from Turkey, behind those hills. And this is where we crossed the border. As soon as we crossed the border from Turkey into Syria, it's a totally different world. You go from a very organised country, very modern country, checkpoints as you go to the border. As soon as you get into Syria, checkpoints are totally destroyed. You got a few guys with flashy cars, and they just took in your car, see who you are, give you a smile, say, alright, come on, carry on. I was quite surprised. The people there are really, really nice. Even the military, the area that we went to in Syria is controlled by the Free Syria Army, which is a rebel-controlled area. But they try to maintain peace, but you see everything destroyed. The border posts are destroyed, the hospitals are destroyed. the school. I mean, these are some of the food parcels that we organised with one of the partner charities, IHH, the Quaker charity, and we distributed these. We took truckloads of stuff into Syria. Some of it was one of the houses that we visited in Syria, and some of the children that we helped. There's another charity we worked with, was Hand in Hand for Syria, and they come in the Panorama program if you get a chance to watch it. The medical doctors from the UK go and help, and this is their storage unit, so we partnered with them to distribute food in Syria as well. And some of the doctors have done an amazing job. We went to this place, a small town, pretty much destroyed. The doctors have gone there and set up a special care baby unit in a porta cabin. They set up a temporary structure, and you see these babies who would have died, and they've put this special equipment there. I was just totally shocked when you go in there, and you see this modern high-tech equipment to save these babies. You know, these are projects that are so important for us to support, and I hope you will donate. We've got some donation tins there. This is some of the refugee camps, and kids are lovely, you know. Kids are quite resilient. I was quite amazed. The people are helping them, but you know, children, they all have fun regardless of how poor they are. We saw children walking out in the cold, no shoes, tattered clothes, and you know, we gave them out sweets, and they were so overjoyed. You know, just little things. But they always want peace. That's what they want. They want the war to end. And when you see the effects of war, it really moves you. You really think, gosh, we really need to prevent these sort of things because it destroys lives, it destroys society. So I'll show a video now, just to be like 7-8 minutes. So hopefully that will come up. But if you after watching the video, if you want to help, we've got some leaflets. You can sponsor orphans. You can donate, and we can get the aid there to the people there through our Hand in Hand for Syria and through IHH, which is a Turkish charity. Hopefully we'll get the video up. I'll carry on talking but yeah, I mean, the people there are quite resilient. As you all know, lots of families are suffering, living in refugee camps in dire conditions. There's children who have been affected, children who've lost fathers and mothers who become orphans. And we asked you for your help, and you gave that help, mashallah. Hundreds of pounds donated, thousands donated. And we used that money, we collected that, and taken those donations from UK, from Wycombe and Reading and surrounding places like Nelson, taken it to Syria. And there we bought food, made food parcels, and delivered that aid via trucks using the assistance of charities like IHH and Hand in Hand for Syria.
If you donate £600, see all these boxes to feed 36 families for a month, inshallah, even more than that, the items in there. So please, we're asking people to donate £600 each and continue to feed these families, these Syrian families and the refugee camps.
These boxes are now being transported via trucks to the poor areas in Syria. We're travelling across Syria, past some refugee camps. People just set up tents in the middle of the road, on the side, anywhere they can find place amongst the olive trees. The situation that people are living in is really, really desperate. They need food, they need clothes.
We're passing the refugee camp inside Syria, just inside the border. And in there, the tanks here. Some refugee camps are 1,000 people, some 10,000 people, some 20,000.
IHH had a call from that village saying the people there were living in a dire situation. So we took aid to that village. Here we're delivering to people's houses.
We're a town called Maureen. There's families who have from other cities and towns and come to this village in Syria, and they've moved into a school. The school is located in Wycombe, so the families are living here. There's 6 families, and you can see the poor state of this school. It's living in a very bad condition. We're going to deliver some food parcels to them, which can be bringing those in, inshallah.
We went around one by one, taking these food kits, delivering them to people's homes. We go inside some of these houses, they're hardly anything. They're so glad to see us. Muslims from other parts of the world coming to donate. They're so moved, so touched, and they were thanking you all for giving those donations.
As you can see, there are lots of needed families here. Alhamdulillah, we're doing our duty. Please do yours. Like some more money, we can deliver more food to the
More
houses.
families receiving the aid. You see a lot of these women, they're living with their children, without husbands. These people need a lot of help. These food kits, they would only cost about £20.
Houses, and they haven't got anything. She's telling us she lost everything in the house, and they are living in school here. Life is disaster now. They're not making it easy for you.
These houses have no doors, there's no windows, there's no proper roof, there's no flooring. Some of them are being prepared still. If you look, it's being plastered down, but they've got small rock. This is how these families are living. It's quite shocking space that they've got to stay in. The environment, if you looked outside, the whole place is derelict. And sadly, these families are having to live in the rough.
As well as visiting these places where we're delivering aid, they went to some hospitals as well. Here, we have patients coming for treatment. Visited doctors, and they were really desperate for help, for medicines, medical equipment. They asked for specific items that they needed. For example, a suction pump for treating wounds. Some of these patients we saw, they were paralyzed and inside, they couldn't walk.
How many people did it?
And injury in the spinal cord and paralysis. Yeah.
Okay.
Just like about 3 months ago.
As well in the refugee camps. Here we see a refugee camp which has been set up by Ummah Welfare Trust and IHH. Here they look after children and widows in this vast refugee camp. And they cater for quite a few families there, alhamdulillah. They've got a tent masjid, a tent kitchen, where they provide food to the orphans and the widows, and look after them, provide them clothing and education as well. And you see the children, they provide some simple, very simple play equipment, but the children do with whatever they can with. You know, they play, alhamdulillah, they're happy, they've been provided for, and they were overjoyed when they saw people bringing further aid. So please do continue to donate. We also donated money as a card that you had given. We gave that to children, to widows, to families who are in real dire situations. So please continue to donate.
Quite moving, seeing it go.
People, do need a lot of help, a lot of support. I forgot to mention that video was made for a Muslim audience, so there were some Islamic words that you may not understand when I was mentioning them. But yeah, so do some background about what's happening there. It shows that we can help, even in a town like Wycombe, we can get aid there. So do get involved, and we can help with getting aid there. So I hope that was useful.